On 13 June of 2011, Mr. Tan was employed by the bank as its operations head, Thailand's operations in Bangkok, the sole branch of the banks at the material time. In November 2013, the bank opened its second branch in Sriracha, which was placed under the supervision of Mr. Tan. In 14 October 2014, the bank issued a transfer order for Mr. Tan to assume the roles of branch manager of the Ayutthaya branch with effect from 20 October 2014. Between 2013 and 2014, the bank expands its operations in Thailand. Although Mr. Tan has accepted new responsibility, his role was gradually dismissal.
The bank issued a transfer order by letter dated 13 February 2015 for the transfer of Mr. Tan to the International Infrastructure (PMO) and Operation Support Group International Business in Malaysia, with effect from 1st March 2015. He argued that transfer to Malaysia would destroy his career and was without reasonable justification.
Mr. Tan claimed constructive dismissal and filed a complaint with the Industrial Court, which ruled in his favor and awarded 260,840 ringgit. However, the bank challenged this decision in the High Court. The case passed through the Industrial Court and High Court, both ruling in Mr. Tan's favor. However, the Court of Appeal overturned the decision, arguing that the wrong test of reasonableness rather than the contract test in determining Mr. Tan's constructive dismissal. Ultimately, the Court of Appeal rules against Mr. Tan, applying the contract test and quashing the earlier decision.
First of all, dismissal is a process which a company removes an individual from performing its job, task, or its positions, and it might due to the reason because of the employee misbehaviors or other justified causes. There is three primary types of common dismissal, which has include summary dismissal, constructive dismissals, and forced resignations. In this case, our group will focusing on constructive dismissal, which is a termination of an employment contract by an employee because of employer has shown that he does not intend to bond by some essential terms of the contract.
The related legal issues from facts is: did the bank's transfer order to relocate Mr. Tan to Malaysia constitute a breach of the employment contract or an act that fundamentally altered the term of employment to the extent that Mr. Tan could claim constructive dismissals? And the second issue is reasonableness test or contract test should be applied to determine constructive dismissals.
Regarding to the case, the question of law was before the federal court. Is there a difference in the contract test or reasonable test in light of major developments in industrial jurisprudence? First, the contract test checks if the employee action are serious enough to break a key part of the employment contract. If the employee conduct show they no longer intend to follow the contract, the employee may have been constructively dismissed. Second, the reasonableness test look at whether an employee action was so unfair or unreasonable that they made the employee feel like they had to quit. It is focused on whether the employee behavior broke the trust and confidence that should exist between them and the employee. Also, they have four conditions that may claim constructively dismissal. Lastly, by differentiate the contract test from a mere assessment of reasonableness test, the federal court has provided a balanced approach that protect both employee right and employee management prerogative.
And application. The first one is rejection of the reasonableness test. It initially applied by the Industry Court and High Court, focusing on fairness and rationality. Further court deemed it to be subjective and limited value as a legal test. Second, upholding the contract test. The Court of Appeal and Federal Court found no breach of fundamental terms. Transfer orders were within contractual obligation and did not justify constructive dismissal. Last, clarify constructive dismissal. The test asks, did the employer's conduct fundamentally breach the employment contract, showing no intent to abide by its terms. Reasonableness may inform the context but does not replace the contract test. Industrial Relations Act 1967, employers' action amounted to a fundamental breach of the employment contract. In the case, the transfer order by the bank were contractual, no reasonable alternative but the resign due to the employer's conduct.
A finding. The first one is no constructive dismissal. Despite Mr. Tan's claim, evidence shows similar job scope between old and new roles. Changes in job scope were contractual and did not breach fundamental terms. The second one is importance of clear contract. Employers must ensure employment contract and directive are ambiguous. Clarity reduces dispute and ensures certainty in employment relationship. Implication for employers. First, caution in modifying employment terms. Change must serve legitimate commercial interests and avoid disadvantaging employees. Employers should act in good faith and minimize potential breaches. Second, consideration of reasonableness. Though not a legal test, reasonableness can contextualize action potentially breaching contracts.
Constructive dismissal happens when an employer's action breaks the terms of the employment contract that the employee feels they have no choice but to resign. The case of Tan Lei Peng, Su RHB Bank Berhad and Anor highlights the strengths and weaknesses of current law about the constructive dismissal and how it impacts employment law and workplaces. One of the strengths of this case is the application of the contract test, which helps determine if an employer's action constitutes a breach of contract significant enough to make continued employment impossible. These tests ensure that decisions are based on clear rules and facts, providing fairness and clarity to both employers and employees. It also reinforces the idea that employees have the right to resign if their employer's actions, such as salary reductions or creating a hostile work environment, break the terms of the contract. However, there are certain weaknesses in this approach. The contract test focuses only on contractual breaches and does not consider the emotional or psychological impact of an employer's behavior. For example, a toxic work environment that does not technically breach the contract may still compel an employer to resign. Additionally, proving constructive dismissal can be challenging, as employees must provide strong evidence and demonstrate that they had no reasonable choice but to resign. This process can be particularly difficult for employees who lack legal knowledge or resources. Apart from strengths and weaknesses, the case of constructive dismissal also has a broader implication for employment law, workplace fairness, and society as a whole. These implications extend beyond individual disputes and influence how employers, employees, and the legal system interact. First implication of constructive dismissal case is the reinforcement of workplace standards and employer responsibilities. Employers are reminded of the need to uphold ethical and lawful practices in managing their workforce. Actions such as unjustified salary reductions, demotions, or creating a toxic work environment can lead to claims of constructive dismissal. This encourages employers to foster a positive workplace culture, treat employees with fairness and respect, and reduce the likelihood of dispute. Other than that, constructive dismissal law also contribute to economic and social stability by encouraging fair treatment in the workplace. When employees feel secure in their jobs, they are less likely to leave, which reduces turnover and benefit businesses. At the same time, this law helps address the financial and emotional distress caused by unfair treatment, contributing to broader social harmony. In conclusion, constructive dismissal law play a vital role in promoting fairness, protecting employee rights, and encouraging ethical workplace practices. By continuously improving this law and adopting best practices, Malaysia can ensure a balanced legal framework that protects employees, supports businesses, and promotes workplace harmony.